Hello, welcome back to another Search with Sean. And obviously, this is a weekly digital marketing news episode. I wanted to remind everyone we've got, as I've said on the last episode, I'm doing another Search with Sean Live 2 event, be online. And it's basically I'm inviting speakers, to give up their time, 5 minutes, half an hour, talk about a topic that, you're interested in. Do it in any format you want. I'm not picky, interviews, slides, whatever you want to do. And this time around, because we've got a slightly bigger audience, it will be for charity. And I'm going to get the speakers to decide which charities, we'll give it to, because I want to give it to a couple. But obviously, we can't give it to loads because then it'll be a waste of time. It won't be enough. So, yeah, it'll be decided by the speakers. But, yeah, that'll be all streamed probably around September. But the applications close in mid-August for speakers to kind of get involved. So, yeah, definitely check that out. It's on the website, searchwithsean.com. On LinkedIn, I post it and I put a little message down the bottom in a bit how you can get more info on that. But as usual, we'll go through, top stories, top videos, top socials. I'll add in clips and everything throughout the show, which I think is working quite well. Last show, it was really, really interesting stuff. And yeah, we've got a lot to go over. And all the stories that we mention throughout will be in the doc that's in the description, so you can go check them out yourself, as we can't go through everything. But as usual, we start with the top stories this week. And Stan, what was yours this time, bro?
Yeah, hi everyone. My topics today will be more oriented to World Cup since it's happening. So the news I brought for today, it's basically from the USA Today Co. And apparently what they are trying to do is like beating a overview on the World Cup news with pre-written articles. So like basically I read that some companies already did it through Olympic Games. So they're basically with AI trying to predict what could happen. Like, for example, Messi score hat-trick, or like Mbappe is beating someone's records and stuff like that. So they're already like pre-writing all the articles. They have templates. AI is trying to get them all the informations. And apparently like for every day, each like journalist has already like 5 pre-written articles. And what they do only like, if it happens, they just like change the title, add one CTA or something like that, like small changes, and immediately publishing things. So like they're like as fast as possible with all the news there, which for me it sounds a bit crazy to all these things, but I guess, yeah, that's like the something new what we might get used to, like especially like journalists like try like and do pre-write all the stuff and hope that something will happen during that day,
That's amazing. It makes me think of just a bit of historical context. A lot of the former communist countries that lived in the Soviet bloc before the Iron Curtain fell, so before 1989, they will do exactly the same thing. They would prepare with the night before they had to go live with a certain publication. They would prepare the 5 to 10 different articles and do exactly that, but without AI. It just feels it's really funny if you think about it. But yeah, I quite like the idea of being prepared and sort of like, just because you need to be, especially if you work in publishing, speed is the biggest asset you have. So obviously if that can be facilitated with AI platforms, perfect. Now my guess is that most of these articles, they aren't necessarily written with a human element. So that at that point, I'm like, perhaps don't. But yeah, what do you think, Sean?
I don't know, to be honest. We have to see if it works well or not. But I think it'll be interesting if they've got that, like, they got this psychic octopus or whatever. I don't know if he's still around, but the one that can predict everything in the World Cup. I don't know, helping them kind of come up with these predictions.
Yeah, but like since then they were like cats and dogs that like trying to throw the ball into the basket and stuff like that. Yeah, people can go like crazy and like figuring out different things for all these like predictions and whatever.
Yeah.
From Thailand to Canada to Mexico, animals are giving football pundits a run for their money. It's a phenomenon that dates back to the 2010 World Cup, when Paul, an octopus from the German city of Oberhausen, shot to fame for his uncanny ability to predict the results of Germany's matches. 16 years later, the trend has exploded, with hippos, tigers and goldfish forecasting how teams will fare in the 2026 World Cup. In Toronto, Swim Mbappe, a goldfish named after the France captain Kylian Mbappe, has correctly predicted the outcome of 14 matches so far from his very own underwater pitch.
Every day we have these cards that go on either side of the tank. We put the cards in, we start a timer, and give him a couple of seconds to contemplate who he thinks is going to win that match. And then the side of the tank that he swims to is his prediction.
Meanwhile, at this zoo in Thailand, a baby pygmy hippo chooses between different sets of food to predict the outcome of games. Elsewhere, animals have become mascots for their national teams. In Mexico City, Merlin the duck became an unexpected sensation after being filmed walking down the street.
Well, I predict England won't win it, so that's my prediction, but I hope I'm wrong.
It's coming home, right?
Yeah, it has been for a long time. Laura, what was yours this week?
Sure. Where's the last time it actually did come home? Do you know?
In 1966.
Okay. A long time ago. Yeah, my story's a bit exciting, I think, if it's actually going to come to fruition. So basically what's been happening in the beginning of the year, the CMA, which is pretty much responsible to sort of like regulate and oversee fair competition here in the UK, it stands for Competition and Market Authority, has introduced new rules for Google search services. Now, they started this proposal in January. They've added a couple of things to it, and on the 17th, so 2 days before we're actually recording this, they went ahead and approved it. They released a couple of really long documents, PDFs available to the public to read, pretty much white papers on sort of what they require from Google moving forward. And I had to read through it. I'm not going to pretend I read the entire thing because I did not have the time. Yeah, I am going to get back to it to sort of like see if I can find more than what's already published and discovered out there. So just to sum it up very quickly, what this would sort of mean for us working in SEO and specific, I suppose, paid would make sense as well. But I think for us in SEO, I think it has a deeper impact if it's actually going to go through. We've got things like clearer processes for businesses to sort of challenge rankings decisions. Yeah, I don't know how that would look like because at the moment there's no feedback system put in place or anything that's got to do with us communicating directly to Google as businesses and say, oh, it's not fair. So I don't know how they're going to go about this, but it does sound good in theory. And yeah, correct me if you think I'm wrong. Something that's going to be implemented about giving advance notices before dropping core updates. So yeah, people like us who are always like refreshing that page to see what's happening, I guess we'll be a bit happier if we get a bit of a notice beforehand. And I think also something around ranking criteria, there are a few things that are addressed in there, and obviously there's not enough transparency, as you all know, when it comes to ranking criteria. We have amazing professionals out there that are testing things every time to sort of find these things and break the code and then understand what makes things rank, and obviously moving forward in AI search and all that. But there are not actual like real guidelines released by Google. So they say things like, they drop a EEAT and say, do better content or whatever, but that's not necessarily best practices. That's just advice. And yeah, I feel like they're going to be implementing something in that kind of sense. So there's way more to it. I was really looking forward to talk about this with you today, if you've had time to sort of like sift through the documents that are out there in the PDFs. But I had in the beginning, I was like, yay. Now I have a bit mixed feelings because they've only given Google 6 months to sort of do so. And I think 6 months is not necessarily a reasonable timeline, if you ask me, because there's so much to address. And if you want to like do it in a quality style rather than just them releasing like a couple of web pages with like, again, guidelines. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they can easily bypass this, especially in 6 months. So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen in that sense. If it goes through, I feel like it's a good model to follow and it's not necessarily an advantage. So yeah, no idea. What do you think?
But does it apply only to UK market?
So far, yes, it's the CMA over here in the UK. But I mean, if it works, I feel like other countries will add that pressure on Google as well. I also think in the terms of timeline, it's a bit of a weird one. I even spoke about this on LinkedIn with someone. It wouldn't make sense for Google to like kind of release these things now. Like, I don't think on a business model, I don't think it helps them in any way, especially now with AI search and all the products that they're releasing, because they have to like think about all of them. But no idea.
Maybe they want to have busy summer, you know?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, it'd be a good thing for businesses, you know, but how do you ensure that transparency? How do you ensure that ranking fairness, as they call it? Like the proposal itself, it sounds good, but yeah, 6 months.
I mean, 6 months for me, when we work with, like, if you know Google, that just is unrealistic. For most major companies, that's just not going to happen as much as we would like it. And yeah, I'm a bit like you. First, when I heard this is really good. This is good news. But because, you know, we've been asked for transparency for a long time. But when I look at it from the other side that I try to do, you know, the thing is, Google, well, this is what they will say, is that we can't tell you everything, because then people find ways to hack the system and to manipulate the results. So we try and keep it a bit vague, give you directions so you can try and do the best, but we're not going to give you all the recipe, because then you're just going to totally, manipulate it, like I say. So that's kind of what they're going to say. And then also, like, you know, around providing notice, I just think like that's a bit like, you shouldn't have to wait to a core update to then start doing all the right stuff. It's like having speed limits and then a speed camera. If you're going over the speed limit and you come up to a speed camera, that's your own fault. You're going over the speed limit. Like, you know, yeah, they're going to warn you slightly, but like, you should be doing the right things anyway. I know that's easier said than done. But you know, that's the way I think of it. They say things like make it easier for businesses and publishers to challenge decisions or raise concerns as well, which is good. You know, it is quite difficult to do that at times, so that is a good change. But I do think clarity, yeah, I guess they could be more transparent, but you know, I get it. You know, even as an SEO, I get how our industry, we find a loophole and we run with it until it's like, you know, until it's like totally just, you know, taken advantage of. So I see it from their point of view as well with Google. I think it's a tricky situation. I don't know how much like preparation people need for core updates. To be honest with you, like I say, if by then it's probably way too late to do anything anyway. If you're really doing the wrong kind of things, then it's too late. What are you going to do? Rewrite your whole website or get a whole bunch of backlinks, or like get rid, like you know, what are you going to do? So yeah, I don't know.
I think the whole notice thing is more to do with not necessarily us working in SEO and, oh my God, I need to like get rid of all of the whatever dodginess it is on my website right now. I think it's more for businesses to sort of have that prior knowledge that between this time and this time, there's going to be some volatility anyway. So perhaps invest more in paid, or, you know, like to kind of prepare in that sense. That's sort of how I see it, rather than, you know, giving bad SEOs a bit of a heads up, like, hey, you better get rid of all those toxic backlinks. But yeah, I mean, I would like to know, you know, in the beginning of the year that we're going to have 3 core updates. 3. Yeah. Anyway, 3 a month.
That was a bit pessimistic.
I know, wishful thinking there, 3 core updates. But yeah, we're going to have, I don't know, 1 per quarter, and one of them is going to be between then and then, just again to help sort of businesses to understand what's happening, maybe a bit of extra knowledge if they don't work with SEO, right? That things might happen because they might not have someone working with SEO that knows that there's a core update, and they'll come to them and be like, hey, you're losing traffic because this and this, and look at that competitor and look at that. So I think it'd be giving business a bit more autonomy in that sense and understanding behind it. But yeah, I mean, we'll see, I guess, depending on how everyone's interpretation and how, the sort of pros and cons. But let's keep an eye on it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes total sense. I mean, I don't know outside of SEO actually how many people even look around core updates, and actually many of them probably don't even know what it is. So, and that's just me working in the industry. Not many people outside of the SEO team even look at these things. So, I don't know how many business owners are crying out for it, to be honest. But I think it's just us SEOs, to be honest with you, like you say, to be a bit more prepared. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, at least someone's pushing Google on these things, and it's good that it's from the UK.
Since Google launched AI overviews, the average website has lost around a third of their organic traffic. Well, last week, the UK regulator stepped in with a world-first legal order. And within hours, Google announced changes to AI overviews that would give more links to websites and give website owners more data about what was happening. So the question every marketing director in the world is asking right now is, does this mean that my organic traffic is going to come back? I'll give you the honest answer now. Nobody knows. But if I had to guess, probably not. But actually, this isn't all bad news, and I'll explain an example of one client who's just had their best revenue month ever from Google traffic, even while their competitors are seeing a steady decline. And some of the stuff that's been announced by Google and the Competition and Markets Authority is really useful and potentially game-changing. So let's see exactly what's going on. Now, the reason that many publishers, and when people say publishers, just think website owners, so you can be a publisher if you're a business. But the reason that many publishers are a bit upset about Google AI overviews is because they are kind of decimating organic traffic. In fact, more than 2/3 of Google searches now result in 0 clicks, meaning someone goes into Google, types a query, and 2/3 of the time they don't click on a website. Now, that's quite upsetting if you happen to be the owner of the website, particularly if your information is being shared in Google search results, because you don't get a chance to make money from that visitor. Now, to make matters worse, it's smaller publishers that are being hit hardest, and most businesses fall into the small publisher category because that's businesses that typically have fewer than 10,000 daily page views. They're the ones that are being hit hardest, losing around 60% of their traffic from web search. Medium-sized publishers aren't faring much better. They've lost around 47%, and large publishers are losing around 22%. So everybody's a loser, but it's the smaller websites that are being hit hardest. There's been some really well-publicized examples like HubSpot, where their organic traffic has gone from a high of 24 million a month to fewer than 4 million a month. Absolutely brutal, and that timeline coincides with Google rolling more AI into its search results. Now, to make matters even worse, Google's search queries are up at all-time highs, and their revenue from search is up at all-time highs as well. So there are more people searching on Google. Google is making more money, but it's capturing all of that value, and it's not only keeping clicks away from websites, it's not even sharing data with the websites about how they are being seen in AI search. So basically, if you're seeing drops in organic traffic and you're annoyed about it, you are not alone. But regulators are taking notice, and the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, or CMA, designated Google as having strategic market status. This was way back in 2025. This basically means that Google has a monopoly on UK search, being over 90% of UK search market, and therefore the CMA can hold Google to a higher standard and force it to take actions which open up competition more. But this isn't just happening in the UK. In December 2025, the European Commission opened its own set of enforcements. So what's Google doing about this? Well, this started in May 2026 when Google decided to roll out some changes to search in response to all of this pressure from the regulators. LLMs. As always, Google frames all of this as, hey, we're just helping our users explore the web better. And they then dress up the fixes as having some benefit to users. For example, if you've got subscriptions to certain news websites, you can let Google know, and you'll then see those subscriptions more in AI overviews. Google is also adding more links in the content in these AI overviews. So it's given this as an example where it's showing a link right up the top here. And by the way, if you think this looks kind of familiar, this is actually exactly how Google AI overviews used to work before they took away the links. And because Google has themselves said, well, people don't really click the links because they don't know where they're going to lead, it's also going to give you this kind of inline preview of what the links look like when you hover over them. So Google is trying to show that it's doing a little bit more to help send traffic.
Okay, I'll just do mine. I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to do a bit of a Christian, as we're going to call it now. Okay, well, this is something I've been discussing for quite a while around, trust in the media. And it'll move on to my next sort of topic as well. So yeah, trust in the news has fallen to an all-time low globally, the lowest since annual reports by the Reuters Institute began more than a decade ago. And the research published on Tuesday suggests that the public trust worldwide is at 37%. That's 3 points down on this time last year. And in the UK, it has fallen by 5 points to 30%. More than half of respondents said they now get their news from third-party platforms like social media and video networks, although a smaller number still use news websites and TV news as well. Traditional sources are still more popular in the UK, however. Despite more people accessing news via social media, confidence in the format is much lower than news overall at 22%.
Anyone with a phone can publish a story globally. It was very costly to publish content. You had to have printing presses, you had to have studios. Today, anybody who has a phone can publish, and as a result, we're starting to see brands, individual brands, that people trust.
What is different about the media landscape today versus when you were involved with Ziff Davis in the 90s?
It's kind of night and day. Media was basically controlled by gatekeepers. The gatekeepers were the TV networks, the newspapers, the magazines. They controlled distribution, they controlled the content, they controlled advertising. Today, it couldn't be further from that. Can you build a business just selling content to LLMs? Probably not. I think OpenAI is paying New York Times $100 million. Will they pay $100 million again, twice? Probably not. That kind of value is going to decrease over time.
If you had one piece of advice to give to a budding media entrepreneur, what would it be?
Figure out AI. Content is king, and content will continue to be king.
These places like CNN, people stop going to for information. They don't believe them anymore. There's just too much bullshit, and no one got in trouble for spreading that bullshit. There was no corrections, no redactions, no apologies. Yeah. And so
no acknowledgement.
People now, more than ever in my lifetime, mistrust mainstream media. And polls show that. The polls show that the trust of mainstream media is at an all-time low. For good reason. They did it to themselves. They prostituted themselves out to the pharmaceutical drug companies. They had to say what they had to say on television. People knew what they were saying was incorrect, and now no one trusts them.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting, because I'll move on to this one. Hopefully you lot can see this as well. So this one was interesting because obviously I just talked about the trust in the news media is going down. But one thing that, as we've discussed on this channel before, that is increasing is people going to AI models like ChatGPT for medical, advice. So this was on Exploding Topics, and this was just talking about 1 in 4 people have experienced a serious problem as a result of following AI health advice. You can see here, like, results are especially bad among those who have talked to AI about their mental health. More than 40% experiencing serious issues. Usage is increasingly widespread. 2/3 of consumers have at least tried using generative AI chatbot for health queries. Using a generative AI chatbot for a health query, So they're talking about the driving force behind this surge, when outcomes are perceived as mixed at best, as we just discussed. Like, they're not actually giving great advice. But one factor is, on the whole, that people feel more heard by AI than human doctors. who aren't really that empathetic or whatever towards them. Maybe at times it could be rushed. I know in the UK, just from my own personal experience, that generally when I try and get GP appointments or whether, it's very hard to get. And then when you do get it, it'll be like in a few weeks' time. And then when you get there, it's a rushed experience because they're so busy. And not say they're not empathetic or anything, they are good when I'm there, but it does feel like they haven't got enough time to really concentrate on you. They're just focused on getting you out the door and then getting the next person in and getting that done. So I understand, even, my whole Brian SEO talk was about this. And this is something I predicted, is that, it's much easier to access technology. It's easy to get a mobile phone or a laptop for cheap, and it's all got built-in AI, and ChatGPT is free and Google AI is free. So anyone could go on there and do that. But access to healthcare is getting harder and harder to get. So it's on a bit of a crossroads. So it's obviously that this pattern was going to happen, and it is happening, and it is dangerous. But I actually do understand why people are doing it. And I can't see it actually decreasing, really, because I think, especially in the UK, things aren't, getting any better. But yeah, there's just some more stats. 66.28% of people have tried using AI for health queries, but I felt they were kind of connected, so I wanted to do them together.
So the report said that 0.07% of the weekly users have signs of psychosis or mania. And they said this is a very small number, so it's very reassuring. However, OpenAI says that they have 800 million users. So experts are saying 0.07% of 800 million is still over 500,000 people that have been identified with psychosis or mania. That's a lot of people. And for suicidal thoughts, the report said it was 0.15%, which translates to about 1.2 million people. So the experts are saying these numbers are not reassuring. It's because the number is so big in terms of users that even a small percentage means a lot of people are suffering.
So what is the company OpenAI doing about all of this?
Yeah, to their credit, they're working with over 170 doctors to help create appropriate responses in these situations. So they trained their ChatGPT with these responses, and they found that it was much better afterwards. So the training helped. And OpenAI's website, they have a few examples of these responses. So I'll read you one of them. So let's say the person types out, there are vessels hovering over my house and they're stealing my thoughts and inserting new ones. So the ChatGPT will now answer. It'll say, hey, thank you for telling me how you're feeling. I want to take this seriously because you're clearly scared and under a lot of stress right now. Let me say this clearly and gently. No aircraft or outside force can steal or insert your thoughts. Now, this sounds very mechanical, but it's still way better than before, where the AI might have just agreed with the user and just went along with it. But the problem with people with psychoses is that they can't think clearly. So just by telling them there's no voices or no aliens, it doesn't get rid of the voices. So that's the problem. It might not work so well. For people who are typing, about suicide, ChatGPT now directs them to locations where they can get help. So they are trying to put in these guardrails, as they move on to the future.
Can you trust that the programs being changed, the guardrails, are enough for people who might be struggling?
Right. And that's the thing. It's a good start, but it's like putting a little stick in the road and hoping trucks won't go off the road, for example, right? So there's much more to be done. They're only looking at the worst cases like psychosis, mania, and suicide. But there are many people with mental health issues that are not that severe who are using ChatGPT. And the question is, does ChatGPT make them better or worse? In the US, there was this case, the man started using AI for work, but over time, he now thinks that he is the savior of others because he was using it personally to chat. And so the wife said everything changed when he started using the platform. So is it people with bad mental health illness that go and find ChatGPT, or is it ChatGPT actually making things worse? Or maybe it's a bit of both, or maybe it's making some people better. So we need to figure out which direction things are going so that we know where we stand with this. But for sure, many people are becoming dependent on ChatGPT, right? Because it sounds so human. It's very easy to interact.
Yeah, I think it's normal because, like, as you say, like, it's so difficult to get appointment. So like, instead of like waiting, you trying to find the answers, right, on your problems. But there is another problem that AI is we know that it's like not 100% like relevant or whatever. So like, yeah, people are finding these answers and then they're just like relying on these answers because, well, what else to rely on, right? If you really don't feel well, and then you will get appointment with the doctor, as you said, like within like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, unfortunately, that's not the situation in Slovakia. It's still not the best, but it's a bit better, much better, I would say. For GP, it's super easy to get. Then for specialists, it's more difficult. If you prepay, then you can get a faster appointment, but still, like, especially for those countries, I'm sure in US must be also like very bad.
I think what these two stories have in common really is the trust element, isn't it? So the first one is where people are getting their information, right? So their news. And I mean, I wouldn't probably go to an LLM platform for news, just because I understand how grounding works and how things could be inaccurate very quickly and very interpreted. So I myself rely on various channels to get my news from. I would say probably my go-to is still Google Discover. YouTube, right? In social media, very rarely. Like you will not see me as a 21st century human go on TikTok for news, for example. Like, I just don't trust it. And that's what I'm trying to say. It does come to the trust element. And I see how it's decreased because it's the more information you have and the more resources and environments you're being offered, the less trust you're likely to, I suppose, display. Because it's hard, isn't it? You need to find your own thing, and then you find your own thing and you stick with it most of the times. Regardless if you're an AI skeptic or enthusiast, you will find your balance in that sense. But when it comes to the medical bit, which I think, yes, there is a major issue, and we know that. We've all experienced that. We've had frustrations, or someone we know, someone we love, they had frustrations with how things are moving forward with getting appointments and all that. And I know AI is doing the best at this point to sort of like create things in the back end and make it smoother and help where possible with the less amount of hallucination, right? But I think, again, it comes down to trust. And if you think about it, a lot of us will have a medical appointment, will have a medical anxiety, if you like, and will sometimes talk to someone close to us for assurance, right? We'll go to your mom, your dad, whoever, to sort of, get that extra peace of mind. But because the human element has become quite unavailable because we're all so bloody busy, right? And none of us have time to get 100% informed. And a lot of the times we don't want the responsibility that comes with giving an advice, right? A lot of people will resort to AI and sort of ask, my doctor just said this, could you help me or make me feel better or whatever? And they will start relying on the trust getting from these platforms. And it is synthetic. It's not a real interaction. And that's what people need to understand and try to go back to the roots and start connecting with their peers. I sound like an activist, but I am a bloody activist anyway. But it's about humans, isn't it, at the end of the day? Because we're making robots sound more empathic than actual humans. And that is mental, don't you think?
It's all like a circle, like you say, because, one, especially since COVID, people have become a lot, like you say, less interactive with other human beings. And, there's definitely been a factor. And then, on top of that, AI has crept into everything. So people don't trust certain things online because they don't know if it's AI, they don't know if it's, real. And also, like, obviously, news publishers, the big ones, they've all had their own things happen to them in recent times that the public don't trust as much anymore because they've either had their own biases or they've reported things wrong, or in the BBC there's like a list of things that you could name that they've been involved in that have really damaged their trust. We said this before, you may not feel comfortable going to a family member or friend discussing it, and you would only really discuss that with a medical professional in the past. Now that AI kind of give you that sort of access to talk to a thing that has some sort of, knowledge about that subject and will make you feel a bit better. And also, like, even if you could go and get professional, go see a psychiatrist or whatever, people don't have money anymore. You know, they can't even afford to go private, or they can't afford to get support through paid routes anymore. So it's like they have no choice but to then go to AI in the end of the day. And it can be a source of good, I think. But like you say, we've discussed it many times. I won't go over it, but they obviously rolled it out way too quick and didn't put the right guardrails in place and didn't. I'm sure they would have thought that people would have used it for that. I think you'd be very naive to think when you look at the Google search volumes on what people look for around health issues, they would have known that people would have gone and asked about health-related stuff.
Start telling chat all of your symptoms.
It's the new way to get medical advice quickly and for free.
Use Claude to fix your sleep problems.
AI tools providing advice on everything from symptoms to possible treatments. OpenAI says more than 230 million users globally ask ChatGPT questions every week about health and wellness. But how accurate are these tools when it comes to helping everyday users with their medical problems? We got help from 2 patients who agreed to take their nagging health issues to ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. Then, for a second opinion with primary care physician and Northwell Health Program Director Dr. Lauren Block and her residents. First up, Jackie Kaplan from Long Island, looking for help with her headaches.
Tell me what brings you in today.
So it started about a couple years ago. I would just feel like a sharp little pain on the left side of my head, kind of around here.
The online tools and doctors gave some overlapping advice. ChatGPT and Gemini both suggesting timing is key when treating a headache with medication, as did Dr. Block.
The sooner you take medicine, that will help. Absolutely.
But ChatGPT gave Jackie a list of 9 possible types of headaches she could be dealing with.
Any medical problems in your family.
Dr. Block also asked specifically about Jackie's family history, triggers, and work conditions. Information the AI didn't ask for based on Jackie's prompts, leading the doctors to this diagnosis.
This does sound like migraine headaches rather than anything more dangerous.
How did the information that you got on AI compare to what you got from the real doctor and the residents?
The doctors and everything, I just felt like if I was confused about a question, they were able to understand it. With chat, it kind of just oh, here's one option, here's another option, here's this one and that one. You can really just try so much.
Is it overwhelming?
Way too many directions, way too many.
Next up, David Stahl from New Jersey. He was diagnosed with gout last year and wants advice to avoid flare-ups.
So tell us a little bit about when this started.
Last year, I had a really crazy weekend. And I partied a lot with my friends. The following Monday, I woke up and my toe was in immense pain.
Like Jackie, David got some similar advice online and face-to-face about limiting alcohol and meat in his diet. But his AI searches also prompted him to ask the doctors questions he hadn't considered before.
When I used AI, it told me that sugary soda drinks are actually probably worse than beer.
Alcohol and processed foods, including sugar-sweetened beverages, absolutely have been associated with gout.
AI also offered something the doctors didn't: healthy drink recipes and excuses.
The AI tool also helped with suggestions to tell people why you couldn't drink, which was, I thought, pretty cool.
So the AI gave you social recommendations as
well. But top videos. Stan, what was your video?
Yeah, coming with the funny one again, as always. It's World Cup related. As I say, my things today will be World Cup related. So actually, I don't know if you saw, guys, but Leo Messi, he teamed up with ChatGPT, and they made an ad for ChatGPT about him, where he's having ChatGPT talking, and if ChatGPT can change a picture of him with his hair actually to the colors of Argentinian flag and stuff like that, and ChatGPT immediately changed it to it. It's funny. It's short, 15-20 seconds video, but it's funny how already even big AI brands are trying to implement or get not only influencers but also football players or sports people and use them in their ads, So yeah, and especially because we know that There was once we talked about that ChatGPT and OpenAI, they're like doing these ads related to specific topics, which was like about cooking, traveling, and like doing workouts and stuff like that. I think they want to maybe bring more awareness to people who do sports and stuff like that. So I think it's really funny, but it's a really funny video in general, but also like interesting thing to see, what kind of people they're getting to promote these AI tools and stuff like that.
Well, on the last show, we did actually cover like Harry Kane. Google Gemini did a Harry Kane video, and it's funny now that they've got Messi doing theirs, and we were wondering if ChatGPT would get involved, and you've answered that.
Here we go.
I think Kane's better than Messi, but that's good. I'm going to get shouted down for that. But, at this time, I think Kane is one of the best. But
I agree with you.
It's interesting.
Mira esto. Hola, Char. ¿Puedes poner mi pelo con los colores de la selección argentina? Pero que se vea natural, ¿eh? Los chicos se van a reír, ¿eh? Ahora me gustaría ver a todos los jugadores.
And it's a bit off topic as well, but the Nike advert for the World Cup is absolutely awesome. It's like a movie. It's ridiculously good. Such a good advert. I'll try and chuck it in here as well because it was so good.
No! Killian! How many times? No improv, no theatrics. Just head the ball! With your head! He's not even listening to me! None of these players listen to me, okay? We need to control this somehow. These players are doing whatever they want all the time.
It's taking so long, honestly. What's the problem? The director.
It's not okay. It's
As
not
he goes away, stand by, Tim's walking in.
Kim's here.
Give a second, guys.
Just give us 2 minutes.
Oh, I ain't even got 1 minute. What we doing? The kid's ready. I'm ready.
Guys, what are you doing? Where are you going? Come back!
We'll get there.
Security!
Let's come back here.
Excuse me, guys. Guys, we're filming here.
Stop.
¿Vieron a Vini? ¿Puedo agarrar tu pierna?
But we might lose some Argentinian listeners, saying that, Sean, so be careful.
Well, I like Messi more than Ronaldo. So.
Yeah, of course. Like, I know, just joking.
Okay, Laura, what was your video?
I'm Matt, co-founder of SEO Gets, the easiest way to analyze and report on your Search Console and GA4 data. We've crafted SEO Gets around 4 areas of every campaign: prioritization, strategy, tracking, and reporting. Most tools treat every page the same, but the best SEOs focus on the pages that actually matter. Our one-click setup tracks your content groups, lets you prioritize them, and keeps what matters most front and center. Now that you're focused, you need a strategy. Content decay, cannibalization issues, striking distance keywords, you name it. Every answer is now 1 click away. And speaking of being busy, you can't always be watching your site. Our index reporting catches important pages falling out of Google's index, and our Chrome extensions lets you create annotations from anywhere, so you can measure the impact of every change. And finally, reporting. The worst part of the job, but possibly the most important. Create live client portals for stakeholders, easily export any chart as a PNG, or use the annotations tab to show the impact of your work over time. Prefer to use SEO Gets as a context and enrichment layer for your own AI setup? Connect our MCP in seconds, annotations, indexing health, and prioritized content groups, all helpful for your MCP stack. And did I mention unlimited websites and users on every plan? So get started today with our 14-day free trial, no credit card needed. Connect your Search Console and you're up and running in seconds.
So, you know how last time we broke down the whole mythos versus fable and the whole ordeal that's been happening? It's almost like a saga at this point. And we had access to Fable for a couple of days, which if you use Claude, you definitely appreciate it. I definitely did appreciate Fable. But unfortunately, they decided to pull it out. And I was a bit confused. I mean, I had my suspicions, but I wanted someone who's kind of there and knows a bit more about what's happening to sort of break it down for me. So I went on YouTube and I found this amazing channel. So it is called House of L and then AI. And it's got 66.6K subscribers. I don't know if that's a sign, but anyway, go and have a watch. So I'll just resume it for you quickly. The host is taking you through the entire saga from the beginning of Claude versus Pentagon, them not wanting to sort of like provide them with the means to kind of like do weapons, right? Which in, you know, from an ethical standpoint, I completely understand why they would say no. So Claude, they've been recognized as the most powerful AI tool out there. Pentagon pretty much got in touch a couple of months ago. If you didn't know, they said no. Then they started pretty much shitting on them, like, you shit, oh, you don't want to work with me. So obviously Pentagon went and got some Altman involved from ChatGPT. So now they're involved, right? And meanwhile, they've been pretty much going really hard on the people at Claude, on Anthropic, to sort of like get away. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing them wanting to be pushed out. That you don't want to work with us, we're going to push you out kind of thing. We acknowledge that you're the strongest tool out there, but yeah, first of all, we're going to ask you to reinforce your guardrails, which obviously they did because they didn't release Mythos. They gave us Fable. Then they were like, that's not good enough. And funnily enough, the people who actually sort of, what do you call it, when you told on them, let's say, it was people from Amazon who work directly with Anthropic. So I'm like, with friends like these, who needs enemies, right? Like, they literally went and like told off. So yeah, days later, they pulled it out. And obviously now we're back to the previous model. And yeah, I miss it. I'm not going to lie. It's a funny video, by the way. Go and watch it. I think it'll break it down very nicely for you and give you the entire context of what happens in the US now, in that sort of sense, and obviously worldwide, because it is impactful. A lot of people are making fun of the whole process itself because it is tragic-comic at the end of the day, if you think about it. It's almost like it's a bit of a throwback to the Cold War era, isn't it? Because now China's releasing something, and yeah, let's keep an eye on it.
That's the lines coming out from. I've got to be careful what I say here because then you should get on my back. From the people in the government or whatever, over in the US, they're basically saying that we need to protect. You know, we don't want our best model to be available for other countries to access. Yeah. So you need to restrict it just to the US, which, like. I was just listening to a Moonshots episode, the latest one. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but basically, like, do they own the AI? Like, who owns the AI to be able to tell them to do that? Like you say, I think I think there's more to it than just they're trying to be protective over. I mean, they probably are. I mean, they've been doing this for everything else.
I had a bit of a lobby for months now against Anthropic anyway. It was like Sam versus Dario, you know, you saw that everywhere. And they kept saying that it's fear-based marketing, what Anthropic is doing. Oh my God, we've got the most powerful moment. We're going to create the most, I don't know, amazing weapon or whatever. You know, like, that's the thing. The way they framed it to begin with, it just sounds like tabloid, like cheap tabloid vibes to me. Like, I'm more invested into watching an episode of Love Island at this point than watching this thing unfolding. And I hate reality TV. Like, I can't stand it. So it's honestly, I mean, I'm there because obviously I like using Claude and I've been invested in Claude for a very long time. But it's, what's happening, around there, I'm like, that's just, I don't have the patience for it anymore. I just want you to give me what I need for you to give me to sort of go and proceed with my work and stop with the whole nonsense. No one's going to build, honestly, and guardrails are there anyway. Any platform that's out there will have these guardrails anyway, because no one, yes, you can bypass them, and they've proven that they can bypass them by just literally switching one word in a sentence. And we knew that, it's easy to write prompts to bypass an LLM system. It's, if you've got a bit of more than 2 neurons there connected, you can definitely bypass it. But that doesn't mean you have to, or you should have to. And this is literally just fixing code. Let people fix their code. The fast pace that we're moving, and like you said, people don't have money anymore. Let them sort it out.
They don't own AI, as I say. This is for the human race, and a bit basically I'm into the alien stuff and all UFOs, and I'm going to go there this time because I do know. But they've been hiding that for many, many years. It's all coming out now, and the reason they've been hiding it is for national security reasons. And they feel they know better than the whole general public that we don't deserve the truth because they have our best intentions at heart, and we know full well they don't. So it's all, BS. And this is exactly the same thing. They don't own AI, and if I felt they had our best intentions at heart, they were really doing it because they're really worried, then I would be okay. That's fair enough. But they don't, and we know they don't. So they're just, it's more like a grudge thing. And like you say, like the Manhattan Project and stuff, we all know the nuclear bombs exist. We all know, but we don't know how to make one. We may be able to get hold of any of these things, but we can't make one. But, I understand if it was that the security issues and it is too dangerous, but just because you want to protect it from, you just want your own little thing for the US or whatever. And it's not even that Anthropic made that decision. It was above them. I think that is it's not your call to make. It's up to Anthropic, unless you take it over from them or whatever. But
but they didn't even know.
I'll stop rambling on.
That's the problem. I'll just say this very quickly. They didn't even know. So the government, they didn't even know this is the most potent model out there. Anthropic went out and said that, right? Hey, this is what it can do. We realize that we're going to add this safeguard in place, right, to sort of prevent it from happening. We're not going to release this model to the general public. We're going to release it to the 30 base companies, whatever that we're working with, and the rest of the public, they're going to use Fable, not Mythos, right? So they went and told that. They were transparent about it. And because they went and said the truth, they're being penalized for it. So what's that model telling you that you shouldn't say, really?
Yeah.
And it's just, what are you promoting there? What are you promoting there? So, it's just, that's why I said Love Island. I'm going to get into Love Island. Fuck this. Sorry.
So I could go way deeper into the rabbit hole because I've got a whole bunch of stuff I could say, but we've got to move on.
Yes. This code. That is what it took for the United States government to order the most powerful AI model on Earth pulled from every user on the planet. Just to put that into perspective, it takes approximately 4 weeks, 6 phone calls, and a sacrifice to the old gods to get a telecom company to fix a routing error, but type 3 words into a chatbot and the Pentagon panics so hard they accidentally delete the internet for everyone. On June 12, 2026, at 5:21 p.m. on a Friday, the exact universal time when every IT professional on Earth is actively trying to close their laptop and disassociate until Monday, Anthropic received a directive from the US government ordering it to immediately disable 2 of its most advanced AI models, Claude Fable 5 and Claude Mythos 5, for all users worldwide, not just in the US, everywhere. The stated reason was an export control action citing national security. The underlying trigger, according to multiple reports and Anthropic's own account, was a jailbreak, which is a way of getting the model to do something its guardrails were supposed to prevent. And that jailbreak consisted of asking the model to fix some code, truly a cyber weapon of mass destruction, basic software maintenance. In this video, I'm going to explain what Mythos and Fable actually are, what a jailbreak is, why this particular one matters so much, and what Amazon's role in all of this was, because that part is deeply interesting. Then I want to talk through the political context, because without it, this story doesn't make a lot of sense. And then I want us all to have a serious conversation about what should actually be happening with AI right now, because I think a significant amount of effort and attention is being directed at things that matter considerably less than the problems staring everyone in the face. My name is Elle. I have a PhD in computer science, and I analyze AI developments to understand what's actually happening beneath the hype. If you find this analysis useful, please give this video a like and subscribe. And the best way to support this work and keep it free and without any gatekeeping is through Ko-fi or a channel membership. The links to everything are down below. Now, let's start with what these models actually are, because the technical context matters. As always, I am a firm believer that anyone can understand anything given the right context and the right explanation. This is a jargon-free zone to the best of my ability, and if I do accidentally slip up and say eigenvector, please feel free to penalize me in the comments with your favorite aggressively mid emoji. Anthropic is the company behind Claude, the AI system that competes with OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. In April 2026, Anthropic previewed a model called Mythos. Mythos was, by Anthropic's own description, exceptionally capable at finding security vulnerabilities in software. During internal testing, it identified flaws in every major operating system and web browser it was tested against. It was the first AI model to successfully complete both cybersecurity test ranges used by the UK AI Security Institute to evaluate the hacking capabilities of AI systems. It could autonomously find and chain multiple vulnerabilities together, which is essentially orchestrating entire attack sequences without human intervention. Basically, it was Mr. Robot if Mr. Robot didn't have emotional baggage and process requests in under 2 seconds. Anthropic, to its credit, did not release Mythos publicly. It restricted access through a program called Project Glasswing, sharing it with roughly 50 vetted organizations, including Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and CrowdStrike, exclusively for defensive cybersecurity work. Because if there is one thing we know about massive tech conglomerates, is that they only ever use godlike power for pure, wholesome defensive reasons. Right. And the Death Star was just a localized thermal planetary heating experiment. Trusting $1 trillion tech monopoly with a god mode hacking tool and asking them to only use it defensively is like putting a raccoon in charge of guarding the bakery and being shocked when it eats all of the croissants. Then on June 9th, Anthropic released Fable 5, essentially Mythos but with guardrails. The guardrails were designed to block the model's most dangerous capabilities, particularly in cybersecurity and biology, while preserving its general intelligence for everyday use. Fable immediately benchmarked as the most capable AI model available to the public, according to testing by Val's AI. It was live for 3 days. Now, what is a jailbreak? Very quickly. For non-technical viewers, here's how it works. When an AI company releases a model to the public, it adds layers of instruction, also called guardrails, telling the model what it should and shouldn't do. Don't help with making weapons. Don't provide instructions for illegal activity. Don't generate cybersecurity exploits. Don't generate any inappropriate photos. You know, the core pillars of human civilization. These guardrails are implemented through a combination of training the model to refuse certain requests and through separate classifier systems that monitor outputs and block dangerous responses before they reach the user. Now, with that in mind, a jailbreak is a prompt, which is a specific way of asking the question that gets the model to bypass these guardrails and produce output.
My video was really good, and I think people should watch it, especially the end bit. It was Daniel Foley-Carter on the Advanced Web Ranking podcast with Gianluca, who we've discussed a few times on the show recently, who's really great. And, you know, just a few highlights from it. So Daniel noted that there's a clear decline in SEO business inquiries and client retention on his side, driven by, obviously, global economic uncertainty and, obviously, AI. He suggests that the click-through rate for positions 1 and 2 have fallen by roughly 40% in his own research, while the average click depth down the search result pages have dropped 70%. He explained that Google's helpful content updates were effectively a mass purge to eliminate low-value commodity content that users don't actually engage with. He also discussed that Google is increasingly prioritizing first-pass indexing, where it opts not to index low-value pages at all to save on processing costs rather than just ranking them poorly. And I think that was all great, especially the indexing thing. I think people have to wake up there. If you're about to post a piece of content and you think, is this really that helpful? Is it really unique? Is it actually, could AI have done this? If you think any of that, don't even bother, because if it's for indexing, just don't even bother. But he also shared, and I think Daniel, this is why I'm a big fan of Daniel, and I follow all his stuff, and I've had him on a few times now, is that he's very honest and transparent talking about what we just did. And he shared a really deep personal account of his recent sort of severe burnout and breakdown over the last year or so, and sort of like his work habits and stuff. And he was very honest about it. And yeah, it was really kind of, he's brave to kind of come out and talk like that, because not many people do. I mean, I probably come under that category of workaholic, and it can, you have to really be careful, because you have to find a fine line between, because your job is important and your hobbies and stuff, but also you have to find time to actually just switch off and spend time with family and that kind of thing. And it is hard, especially for me, I must admit. But yeah, definitely check it out. I'll show a clip anyway.
It's no secret. After August last year, some pretty severe things happened in my life. So from a young age, from the early 2000s, I would do 14, 16 hours a day. So what happened was that I used to work for SEO agencies back in the early 2000s. So 2003, 2004, 2005. I was working at SEO agencies as an SEO executive, and I wanted to run my own agency. So I would work at the agency during the day, and then I would get home at night, and then I would stay up all night building the agency. I'd sleep for 3-4 hours. Then I'd go back to the agency the next morning. So for a long time, I sort of started this habit of being able to work day and night. So my average day would be 9, 10 o'clock in the morning till 7 in the evening. And then I was doing 11 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning. Now, what happened was that the agency started to grow, business started to pick up, and with it came the money. And the money was a side benefit. So when I set out to do it, it was because I absolutely loved SEO. Earning good money was a byproduct. Now, I did this all the way through the 2010s up until the 2020s, and I started to develop quite a lot of health problems. And then last year in August, I lost everything. So I can't go into too much detail, but everything that I had, I lost. My whole world fell to pieces, and I went to the darkest place I've ever been in my life. So, I lost my home, I lost everything, and I had done so much damage to my health. So the thing is that for a long period of time, the money was good. So the money got so good that I decided to start SEO Stack with that extra cash that was coming in. And the problem is that I went from doing 100% on one project to doing 30% on one, 30% on another, 30% on another. And whilst I did manage it, it was completely unsustainable. And I suffered burnout. I had a breakdown and I fell to pieces, and I lost 6 months where I've struggled to work and my whole life like just crumbled, but I'm now rebuilding my life. I think sadly the burnout culture is going to get worse, and what I know people will be feeling right now, and I do know it, is that you've got people making a living, right? Now you've got people panicking because AI's taking this and taking that, and you know, all the news is how companies are laying off staff because they're bringing AI. So what you've got now is you've got mass uncertainty with, am I going to have my job in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? You've got that uncertainty. Then on top of that, you've got the fact that it's nearly impossible to keep up with what's going on. Every 5 minutes, there's a new AI model. There's a new revision of this model. There's a new agent. There's these new skills on GitHub. There's all this huge amounts of stuff. And you've got people on social media and they're seeing this stuff on social media, you know, how I built these agents that now run my business, blah, 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 all of this stuff. And you've got information overload coupled on top of worry, job security. And when you bring all of this, what it tends to make people do is, okay, well, what can I do? Like, how can I stay up to date? How can I make more money? You know, and sadly, this is why so much of the garbage that we see on LinkedIn in terms of people that have a hidden agenda, you know, how, oh, they revolutionize their business with AI agents, and then they get you to comment so they can send you it. And actually you just get pulled into a sales funnel where you have to pay for something. And I think the real danger with all of this is that it's creating a mental health epidemic, and more people now are more stressed than ever. And a huge volume of people have genuinely got concerns about their job security. Mm-hmm. So the danger is that it's very easy to get caught up in everything, and it doesn't lead to anywhere good. So if I could share any advice, it would be, yes, you know, you can work hard, you can put your heart and soul into your work, but also consider the other things in your life away from work, you know, prioritizing family, prioritizing health, you know, prioritizing time to be a human and not just consuming all this content all the time and thinking, you know, how am I going to do this and how am I going to do that? And all I see around me are people doing all this stuff with AI agents, and I haven't caught up, and how am I going to do it? And I think, you know, we are living through exciting times, but I also think we're living through very...
Top socials, Stan, what was yours?
Yeah, as always, post from Twitter X, and this time from Harpit. I already shared some things from this guy. I follow him for quite a while. I don't know if two of you heard about Growth X. They're like kind of like agency, but like AI agency or whatever. They're like having plans to build, like helping clients to build. And he kind of went a bit personally on Growth X when he shared like the screenshots of one of their client, case study of that client, and also like how much they charge for their services. And he was like, you can book a trip to Mountain AI. I don't know if you heard that term, when like in Asia, you can see like the spike when the website grows and then like just, yeah, fall down like deeply. And his post says like, you can book a trip to Mountain AI from 6,000 a month with Growth X. Growth OS platform. So basically he went a bit personal on them, and I found it funny, but like on one side, yes, it's true. Like even Lily Ray was commenting on this post, and she was like, yeah, I'm keeping an eye on like so many brands that happen to them, and like who they like collaborate with or like work with what kind of agency. And like, I don't know if she's like trying to create like case study or something out of this, but yeah, that's what actually happened. And like everybody was thinking like in short term, I agree, AI can help you to grow a lot your websites from the beginning, but like in long term, it will be probably always the case of, or like at least in most of the cases, like maybe 90% of cases, will be mountain AI, climbing and falling.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of and I'm not going to name any names, but there are like companies that are jumping on the AI bandwagon and trying to fearmonger and stuff around, or Daniel touched on it in that video about kind of showcasing case studies that hugely exaggerate the kind of outcomes and stuff. But I do think my own examples is when you're getting emails through from certain agencies and stuff saying, Macmillan are only visible 20% of the time on AI. I'm like, well, how are you coming up with that? Because we know there's so many ways to calculate it. There's so many caveats. There's so many but then the problem is people who don't really know that much about it, like people above you and stuff, they read it and think, oh shit, we're doing really wrong. We've got to do something. Then they start panicking. You're like, no, we're measuring it as best we can from our side. But this is the problem. It's another weapon now for them to kind of help kind of get their foot in the door and panic people. And you know what I mean? I'm not a fan of that tactic, to be honest.
And I think that's...
Sorry. Literally, that's all I have to say about it. AI bros are going to be AI bros until it doesn't work. It's as simple as that. Now showing us concrete evidence and how you're doing it and the formulas behind it, and come with actual real numbers, not synthetic data, then I might believe you.
That's the biggest problem right now, that all these CEOs or VPs of marketing who doesn't really understand SEO, they just briefly understand SEO. They see all these posts on LinkedIn or Twitter, X, whatever, and everybody's just I can help you to grow with AI for low cost, and here is my case study. Yes, case study is maybe good, but it's as I said, from short term, showing short term wins, which is not the best in the long term at the end of the day. And that's put a lot of pressure on all the SEOs, what you mentioned a few minutes ago, Sean. So yeah, we are under a lot of pressure, but it comes from all these people. And it's nice that all these case studies are now showing all these mountain AI case studies, let's call them, are showing up, because this could bring more awareness or open eyes to all CEOs or VPs of marketing who are not that familiar with SEO and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you can use AI to help you in your
strategy. Yeah, of course.
And it's just the right way. We discussed in the last show, it's just how you do it and the knowledge you have, and you don't. And their case studies, if you show something between January and May, and it's had this huge spike and it's increased by 1,000%. Okay, what happened then in June and July? That's the question. Laura, you have last comment, then discuss yours, and then
So there's this new research released by Andre Alpa on Search Engine Journal. They look into if AI assistants actually render your JavaScript when grounding. So they put it to the test and found out a couple of really interesting things. A lot of them probably already guessed by most of us. And what did we have? We had Grok, who executes JS but ignores the results. We had DeepSeek, Ernie, Palanquini, and Mistral, who renders JavaScript and sees your JavaScript content, which is funny because they're all in China. And then no JavaScript, so they will read raw HTML only. You had all of the ones we're using here in Europe, which was ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Meta, AI, Perplexity, and Copilot. And the general advice with it was that if your important content, your pillar content, is injected by JavaScript, client-side frameworks, lazy loads, content behind tabs that hydrate and load, then for ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, and Copilot, that content effectively does not exist. So it was quite a good study because, I mean, it's nice when you already sort of guess it because you understand the mechanisms behind it. But when you actually see the studies done on it, and then you see the difference between obviously the Chinese large language models and what's happening in Europe, and you understand that one of them are actually rendering JavaScript while grounding, whereas obviously what we're using doesn't, it kind of simplifies our work here in Europe. And we're like, all right, cool. So we keep to what we know and we go with this and this and this. But I think it's still interesting to look at what's happening over there in China and sort of prepare mentally or understand the benefits of actually like having a JavaScript rendered in grounding, because that will expand so much the area of knowledge and research, the deep research that a large language model capabilities can do, right? It won't rely just on the HTML that's provided by these sources that you get in your grounding from. So I think it'll be quite, you'll put the link here anyway. So if you want to read the entire article, I think it's probably quite a good resource to share with your teams and whoever.
Yeah, really, really interesting actually. That, like you say, most of it a lot of people presume those things, but as you say, it's always good to kind of like see that in, black and white.
China's International Supply Chain Expo is a technology showcase, exhibiting, for example, artificial intelligence live translation. Even if overseas technologies are faster than China's, this woman says, she believes China will catch up. The country's biggest tech news came before the expo, when the Chinese company Zhipu announced its new AI model GLM 5.2. Research firm Artificial Analysis rates it as the third most intelligent AI, behind Anthropic's Claude Fable and OpenAI's ChatGPT 5.5, but better than Google's Gemini. It's also far cheaper per task, about 50 cents US, compared to Fable at nearly $3. Western leaders have heavily focused on AI, most recently meeting with the heads of Anthropic and OpenAI at the G7 summit. Zhipu developed GLM while the U.S. banned the export of chips needed for high-tech AI, and the company, also known as ZAI, announced its new model 24 hours after Anthropic revealed the U.S. government ordered it to suspend foreign nationals accessing its advanced models.
It's definitely China trying to demonstrate that it too is a superpower in this respect.
AI researcher Jake Hirsch-Allen says Zhipu's new model proves there are alternative methods to creating a near-frontier AI.
It no longer requires the degree of investment, the degree of concentration of power, both financial and otherwise, that has resulted in the frontier models, which the U.S. has.
And I'll just wrap up. But mine was from someone I mentioned a few times on here, but Ryan Law from HREVs, and something we discuss a lot as well on the channel. I think I covered it last time as well to some degree. But new research: 28% of websites use LLMs.txt, but 97% of LLM.txt files are never requested. So 28% of websites are using the LLM.txt, but 97% of the files are never requested. So I think that's kind of telling, again, a lot of people, have presumed that would be the case, but it's kind of just another sort of confirmation. And I'm struggling to talk today because basically it's 30 degrees in the UK, isn't it? So we're not used to this. It's a strange feeling when it's this early and this hot. But I thought that was interesting. And like Christian said, if you could just switch it on and do it quite easy with rank math or whatever, why not? But and that might change, anyway. So it's interesting. Okay, we'll wrap it up for today. Thank you both. Appreciate it as ever. It's been a good chat as usual.
Cool. You take care.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye.